Hey there guys, it's Juniper. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a hot minute since I posted. Life got ahead of me and my first video being all, it's kind of, hopefully my quality's better this time. I got a better mic and everything. So let's get started with the video then. Money magic. That is the topic of today's video. Money bowls, magical cash boxes, do they really work though? And what does that mean for us as witches or practitioners, depending on your topic? They do work to a degree, and I'll tell you why. And I'll tell you why they don't. Let's say, for instance, you've done a spell, and it's for finances. Either you did it for quick cash, or you did it for, say, a large inheritance or something that matters, and something dramatic happens. Your car breaks down, like a family member died, like just something out of the ordinary and something you weren't expecting. That's where money magic comes in. It has to come from a source. And when it doesn't come from a source and we aren't direct and purposeful with our intentions, you get what you ask for, but it's just not exactly in the way that you want it to. And that's the main point with money magic or any kind of magic. It needs direction. It needs a point. That's where money magic gets really tricky, or any kind of magic. It needs direction. It needs a point. You give it specific intention, exactly what you need and what you want. And we'll go a bit into that today and what that looks like, especially for petitions and intention and being clear. Let's talk about why money magic alone won't make you rich, but how to build a foundation where money magic really works. Let's be real. We live in a capitalistic society. Bills never feel like they ever get fully paid, or there's always groceries or something of that matter that needs to be paid for. We're working some dead-end jobs sometimes. We're working very hard. We're burnt out. We're exhausted. And it never feels like there's enough. And that's where money magic people turn to out of desperation. But they don't really understand fully what that means for them or how they can work it. Money magic is delicate. It's out of desperation a lot of times. And that's the problem. When you do magic out of desperation, it will work absolutely, but sometimes not in the way that we expect it to. So building strong foundations where we have that foundational skill of, okay, we have layers. For instance, I have a whole prosperity altar over there, many different magical workings working on the go. And it's really dependent on what I need at this time. Do I need long-term prosperity for my investments? Do I need long-term prosperity for my career that I'm building? I have my own business that I'm working on building, and that's a trip in itself. But, for instance, just like constant cash flow. People like to work with the planets like Jupiter, Mercury, and those are the main two that people normally work with. We'll go into planetary magic later on and what the foundation are with those. Like, think about your ancestors, for instance, though. What was their relationship like with money? My family stems from Poland, Ukraine, those kinds of regions. They were very much like farming communities. They were very much communities that were what they were. Communities. They cared about the folk. They cared about their community. They cared about each other. They were farmers. So they were out of necessity. And when we look at ours and what our ancestors show us, especially for ancestor work, what can we possibly build on to make that more realistic for us? Well, let's look at ancestral allies, for instance. Like Frankie, Chaotic Witch Aunt, they talked about financial magic in one of their videos. So I'll absolutely link below. It was fantastic. I loved it. They talked about how they used lentils inside theirs because that came from their past. That came from their ancestors. A lot of people use grains, rice, things of that nature. Those are things that were used back then. Those are things that were carried meaning that your ancestors really cared about. That might bring that connection back and have your ancestors boost that kind of financial. Now, when we look at a relationship with money and we look at rewriting our past and rewriting our future and even our present, what's your mindset like? What do you carry in your body when you think of money? For instance, I grew up with, we weren't rich, we weren't poor, We definitely weren't middle class. We always had food on the table. My grandmother was the only one working. She's the one who took care of me. She's my guardian. She was the only one making money. My grandfather wasn't at the time, and essentially we couldn't really go anywhere. She tried her best to make things work, to give us kids experiences. I grew up very fortunate with what she was able to do for me. But, you know, I grew up with horrible money spending habits. Either I spent it all or I was so frugal and I just carried all this in my body and this anxiety. I still carry it with me. I'm a lot better about it now. Once you shift that perspective, it starts to flow differently. It's hard to explain, but I'll go into that. Now, let's go into the basics of financial well-being. Spirits cannot grant you money and wealth, or abundance for that matter, without you properly managing it or giving you an avenue to deliver. For example, you want a job, but you're not actively applying for one. How is the spirits going to grant you a job? It's not going to just fly out of nowhere and land in your lap. Unfortunately, that's not reality. Maybe some people out there are just absolutely gifted with luck, but I'm definitely not one of those people. And I can guarantee maybe you probably aren't one either, but it's a harsh reality check. We have to think about those kinds of things where mundane meets magical. It's really easy to get swept up in the absolute spiritual side of things and to keep going and maybe even fall into some sort of spiritual depression even. But mundane over magical, it's so important to keep that balance. So looking for jobs, making sure you're managing your money correctly, budgeting, making sure you're just everything, financial well-being is in check. Having a good bookkeeper, having a good accountant if you're self-employed. It's one of those things where it's just absolutely necessary. Now, if you work with ancestors, your ancestors can absolutely help you. They're a fantastic avenue to go down. You might have to explain a few things to them, like inflation and economics and things like that, but they don't understand modern days. They might look at your money right now and be like, wow, that's a lot of money. I'm like, you'd be like, Grandpa, that is not a lot of money. That $100 might have gotten you so far back there, but this can barely cover my groceries for the week. If any groceries at all. I live in Canada and it's rough out there right now. Let's look at prosperity or abundance altars, for instance. I have an abundance altar, abundance money altar. Abundance looks differently to everyone. Abundance looks like, for some people, just making sure your bills are paid, making sure your needs are met. Money magic was built out of desperation, and we unfortunately have that today. So building a money altar / abundance altar might be just that best goal for you to go with. So what I personally have on mine is a green cloth. You can do green, you can do gold, you can do white, whatever that really resonates with money itself. Just some good color magic you throw in there. Some green candles. If you can't do candles, like electric candles, you don't have to do flame at all. If you really wanted to, you could draw a picture of a flame. By all means. Or the element of fire. By all means. Do what you want. If it works for you, it works for you. Crystals like citrine, pyrite, jade, those are fantastic. Herbs, basil, cinnamon, bay leaves, things like that. Mint. There's my part that says mint. It's an inside joke. I see you. Oils that you made. Special oils. You can have deities who bring in wealth on there. Saints. You can have just about anything. Your money bowl, you can do whatever you want. Coins, cash, symbols of wealth. Money spirits love money. They love cold hard cash. Coins here and there will not do it for them. They love their cash. My money altar has more money on there probably than inside my bank account at one point. And I didn't want to think of it because I'd go in there and get it all. But if you come into my room, you're just going to see like a bunch of money in there. You're going to see a bunch of bills. But it keeps them happy. Like I put coffee on there, speed, fantastic. Some people say alcohol, like whiskey and stuff like that, only if you're an adult, will slow things down, but that is a traditional offering for spirits. And spirits love fresh water. A spirit will not turn down fresh water. Your altar is a living thing, if you believe in animism, of course. And I believe in that each of my altars is a living thing. So each of my altars get an offering a week. I try to do it daily. Let's be honest, I'm disabled. Spoons, it's not going to work. I can't do it every day. It sucks. But I do what I can for my spirits, my deities, everything. I also have a little money tree. It's of, I actually don't remember what crystals are on there. It's not jade. I'd have to stare at it later, but it's gold and has green crystals on it. I have a little money tree, Lady Tekiotikia. I have her on there. Some people do Lady Fortuna. Some people do Hades. Whatever deities really that you work with or don't work with, that's okay too. Some people do saints, like Saint Expedite. It really depends on what you're into or who you practice with. I work with Spirit Money. I also work with Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, even Venus on my altar. I don't really work with them as deities. I work with them more as a vibe, a spirit, a little bit of everything, basically. It's kind of funny. But also, let's actually talk about planetary magic for a minute. Working with planetary energies, people think that Mercury and Jupiter are the ones that absolutely to go to. Mercury is speed. Mercury is fast, hard cash. Jupiter is long-term finances, but people don't think about things like Venus. They're the home. Venus is the home. Venus is everything of relationships, stability. That's Venus. Saturn is rules, discipline. So if you need discipline over your money or steadfast goals, work with Saturn. You want to save up for a home one day, work with Venus. The moon flows in and out. The moon's also a fantastic energy to work in it with. There's every single energy of, like, even Mars. That's can be seen as aggressive, but also fast, right? It depends. Like in my business, I work with every energy on every single day, and I've incorporated in my schedule to do certain things on certain days to the planetary energies. They work in specific ways, and they can help you a lot. Do not just limit yourself to those 2 planets. If you want to, that's totally fine, but just think there's a whole world out there that you can look into. Now, that was me following a script. Now, if I'm going to ramble a little bit here about money magic. Money magic is something that is so integral to a part of our everyday. We think about money all the time. I was thinking, am I going to make bills today? Or am I going to be able to pay my vet bill, death, everything else like that? Like, there's so much going on. You need to have an emergency savings account, for instance. And it just, unfortunately, just so happens that we don't have enough money for emergency savings. We're so busy trying to pay bills and everything. It's hard. It's really hard out there. So, that being said, I have included some resources in 2 posts I put on my Ko-fi. Ko-fi? I can't. I do not know. I've included 2 free posts. Don't have to worry about it. Don't have to be paid. You can just follow it or don't follow it, whatever your prerogative is. No pressure. On disability-friendly money magic. And it has some resources in there for those who are disabled and how they can make money or get somewhere with that, or even get on disability. This is mostly for the States. I've only found resources for the States. Unfortunately, I haven't been able to find anything for Canada. If you are Canadian and you're under the age of, I think it's 24. Yeah, it's under the age of 24. You can go to the Foundry. The Foundry is a wonderful resource. It's all across Canada. I think it might be just across BC. I don't quote me on that. I'll look it up later and I'll put it in the comments for those who are Canadian. They help you with, if you are struggling with abusive situations, if you're struggling with finance, if you're struggling with your health, they will help you find housing. They will help you figure out your finances, find a job. They will help set you up the best they can. They even have counseling services. It's a fantastic resources. I wish I found it sooner. I'm turning 25. I've unfortunately aged out of the program. And I just think it's an underused resource that needs to be used more. And honestly, go to your local community centers. Doesn't matter where you are in the world, just try going to your local community centers. Sometimes there's job boards. Sometimes there's things like that nature. You can freelance. Sometimes Fiverr is really good. Upwork can be really good. This is, of course, if you're an adult. child labor laws. But use your skills like graphic design, video editing. Well, it really sucks to be within a hustle culture these days. It's survival. Surviving is your main priority. Especially as someone who's disabled, I work as a virtual assistant. I work as someone who is, I work with marketing, I work with digital design, I work with also social media management, I work with all those avenues. And I'll be completely honest, I didn't graduate high school. I didn't even go to college. There's ways out there, even as someone who's disabled, I have chronic fatigue syndrome and fibromyalgia, where you can make it. It's not everyone can, unfortunately, and with disabilities, and I totally see you, and it's really sad. And my heart goes out to you, and it's hard out there. But I'm sure together we can find some sort of resources for each other. And if you have any resources that you personally have where you live, post it in the comments. Let's create a chain of resources that can help each other. Resources that can boost each other up, get on disability if we can. The world's changing, especially with, who is president of the United States. But things will be okay. I think we'll be okay. As long as we have each other, as long as we have the folk, the community, we'll be okay. Now, let me know in the comments, what is your experience with money magic? And maybe we can do some pointers and work each other out. I am within the Cobalt Ethereum. Oh my god, that is so embarrassing. I don't even know how to pronounce my own Discord server now that I've said it out loud. I'm a maven and an archivist within this Discord server. It's a huge witchcraft library. I'll post it in the comments. Everyone in there is lovely. I am a researcher, and a writer, and a moderator within that group. I am not a leader. I am not one of the heads. The heads of them are lovely. Ash, Helia, and Amanda. They're lovely, so we're head archivists. I deeply suggest you check it out. If it's not for you, that's also okay. We're a huge library, and we're always doing what we can to revamp things. That being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and take care.